Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to Staying Healthy at Home Gardening. I am Jenny Starr, the Health and Wellness Specialist for the Kansas City Public Library, and I am joined by Amy Morris today, who works at the Ruiz Library, and she runs our seed library, and she is going to give our presentation today. Monica, who is usually here, is out of town today, and I guess we'll just let her take vacation time sometimes. So we will miss her, but I'm sure she's happy where she is. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you, Amy.
Okay, I don't know how long this will take today, so it may be a short session, but I'll tell you everything I know. I wanted to start the session by showing you our little seed library. And this is it right here. And basically how this works is if you are interested in growing something, you can come in here with your library card and check out seeds. You can check out however many you want, and then you can take them home and we'll give you resources, instructions on how to grow them if you want to. And hopefully you're successful. And if you are, then the seeds that you collect, you can bring back. We'll put them back into our seed library, and then other people can grow things too. So it's kind of like a community seed bank. We try to stock all of it with non-GMO seed. We try to be as organic as we can. We can't control everything, but we try and keep good track of everything. When you donate seed to us, you actually fill out a little intake form so we know if you've grown that particular seed by something else that it may have cross-pollinated with or things like that, so we can make people aware of those types of things. The seed library was actually started in 2014, so it's been around for a little while. It was started by the prior branch manager at this branch, Julie Robinson, and she got us this beautiful cabinet, which these cabinets are hard to come by now. They're very, very popular and very, very expensive. But she got us this cabinet, filled it with seeds. She began scheduling gardening classes, seed saving classes, those kinds of things that first year. And we have continued to do that outside of COVID. We have continued to do that and will continue to do that again at the Ruiz Library. Just to give you an example of what's in these drawers, hopefully you can maybe see this. I'm going to turn this up here. So if you would come here, for example, in the flower drawer, it will have the name of a flower, like this has marigold, and then behind it, it has marigold seeds. And they come in little packets like this. It tells you what they are. On the back, it shows you instructions, gives you instructions on how to grow them, how to collect the seed, all that kind of information. So that's the kind of package you get when you come here. Prior to COVID, in 2019, we actually checked out more than 3,000 packets of seeds for folks for all kinds of reasons. Some were young kids wanting to get started with gardening. Some people were into community gardening. Some people wanted to try a seed that they've never grown before, but they didn't want to go out and spend the money on it in case they weren't successful with it. Some people just wanted to play with seeds. So we have people come in for all kinds of reasons, and we've had a lot of people have success with the seed library. And all they had to have to do this was a library card. It cost them nothing at all. So that tells you a little bit about our seed library.
What kind of categories do you have in the drawers, Amy?
Our main categories are flowers. We have some fruit, we have herbs, and we have vegetables. And I put in a new category this year for natives. Native plants they're easy as far as once you get them established, you don't have to water them as much. They're great for amending the soil. They're wonderful for all kinds of reasons. But sometimes the seed with native plants is a little more complicated. It may require certain temperatures. There's some seeds that will take a couple of years before they will germinate. They'll have to go through a couple of grow seasons. So that is a new category that I have. We'll kind of see how that goes. We'll probably have to give some classes on some of those seeds because some of them require inoculation. Some require cold stratification, some require that you scratch up the seeds, some require that you soak them, some require nothing at all. So category that is kind of near and dear to my heart. I really love natives and I grow a lot of natives on my property. But that is something that I have had to learn over time, is that while caring for the plants themselves is easy, learning about native seeds does take a little more time and effort. So we can definitely help people with that a little bit if they want to get into native plant seeds or anything like that. So, and speaking of seeds, the other thing that I wanted to do today was I was just out in our little herb garden here on our property, and I saw that our chives were ready to have their seeds harvested. So I thought I would show you a little bit of what I have and kind of the process that I go through with saving chive seeds. So chives is something that you normally plant in the spring, usually around end of March through the end of May is a good time to plant chives. And chives are actually a member of the allium family, which is in the same category as onions, garlic, shallots, that kind of thing. And they kind of, chives, you can pretty much eat the whole plant. You can eat the flowers, you can eat the stems on it, and it has a little bulb at the bottom that you can eat, but they kind of have in between an oniony and a garlicky flavor and smell. Chives are very easy to grow. You just put them in full sun. It takes about 7 to 14 days for the seedlings to germinate, for you to see them. They usually germinate between 60, 70 degrees. They're really good companion plants for things like carrots, squash, cucumbers, tomatoes. They're good companion plants because they are really good at discouraging things like beetles, cucumber beetles. That's why they're a good companion plant for cucumbers. Carrot flies, that's why they're a good companion plant to carrots. So they're really a plant that I recommend, especially a beginning gardener try, because they're easy to grow. Put them out in the full sun in some good soil. In about within 80 to 90 days, they'll harvest, and then you can collect the seed. And if you don't collect the seed, it will fall and it will self-seed. And chives is also a perennial, so it will come back each year. You really don't have to do anything much to it at all. Just give it some good water once in a while, give it the full sun, and it'll pretty much take care of itself. And it grows in a clump. And as you grow it each year, the clump will get just a little bit bigger. I would recommend maybe about every 3 or 4 years to divide those clumps up a little bit and separate them out to where they're not too close together. But if you do that, you'll continue to have chives year after year after year without any real problem. I'm gonna push my screen down a little bit here so you won't see me, but you'll hear me. And I'm gonna kind of show you what I collected from the garden, the chive seeds that I collected. I'll show you the seed heads and kind of how I separate them and the little process that I go through to clean and store the seeds. So here we go. All right. So the first thing I do is when I go collect seeds, I tend to collect them in a paper bag. I collect them in a paper bag because in a paper bag, the seeds can actually breathe. If you collect seeds or store seeds in a plastic bag, something like the Ziploc here, your chances of the seeds getting moldy or mildewy are much higher because that moisture doesn't come out of the seed, it retains it. So that's lesson number one, don't collect in plastic bags or store in plastic bags. Go for something like a paper bag. So this is what I collected today. And as you can see, chive seeds are black. And I'm going to try and hold a few of these up here. They're almost kind of a pie shaped. They're rounded on one side and kind of flat on the other, if you can see that right there. And I know that my seeds are ready to be collected when my seed head is all dried out. This one looks a little bit weird because I have a cottonwood tree close by and I have a lot of cottonwood that has landed on it. So that's why it looks a little bit fluffy and funny, but it's all dried out. So the seeds are ready to come out of it. And if you look at it really close, you can kind of see the black seeds in there. And another good sign that these seeds are ready is when you dump them over, they'll just start falling out. I picked this particular seed head to show you. See how it's still kind of green, even though the seed head is looking like it's dried out? This is a seed head that is not quite ready. When it's still got the green on it like this, it's just not quite ready to go. If I was to open up and look at these seeds, they might be kind of black, but my guess is they're still going to be a little bit green. And also, like when I dump this, no seeds come out of it. That's another good indication that these seeds are not good. Another good indication that your seeds are ready is that an immature seed tends to be a little bit soft. And these chive seeds, when they're ready, they're like little rocks almost. They're very hard. So what we want to do is we can just, chives are very easy. You can just use your fingers and just kind of push that seed out of there. And you will get some of the chaff that comes out with it, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. So you're just left with this at the end. And you're going to do that with each one of these. See all that seed coming out there, all that black seed. And you may have to kind of play around with the chaff just a little bit more to get that seed out. Every once in a while, you get some seeds that just want to be stubborn and not come out. So you can kind of just mess with it between your fingers a little bit. And then once you do that, some people have fancy equipment for their seeds, and I do have some. I have some seed screens and colanders and things like that. But when I'm cleaning this, I don't tend to use it for chives. What I tend to do is I'll just do like this, and the seed just naturally starts separating. And then the chaff, I just get rid of that. And I can sit here and do all of it and let you watch me, but I think you guys kind of get the gist of it. Just kind of dump it and shake it a little bit. And the seed is heavier than the chaff, so it will just kind of come on down here mostly by itself. Unless you're a real perfectionist, which I am not, I wouldn't worry about a little chaff being in here with your seeds. It's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt them. It's not going to do anything bad. But once you get the seeds separated from the chaff, which is the part that you're not going to want to keep, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to get a paper towel or something like this. And I highly recommend that you write on it what this seed is. So I'm going to put chive on here, and I'm going to put the date. What is today? The 18th? It's either the 17th or 18th. I'm going to put the 17th.
It's the 18th.
18th. Okay, I'm going to put the 18th. Time goes by too fast. Okay. So I've got chive, I've got 6/18/21, and then I'm going to put Ruiz Herb Garden because I may collect chive seeds from more than one place. I'm going to collect them from my home probably this weekend. And I don't tend to combine batches of seed together. In case there would be something wrong with one batch of seed, then I want to make sure that I haven't combined it with the other batch of seed. So I don't want anything to go wrong with that other batch. For example, if I had a batch of seed and I didn't realize it had white mold on it, if I combined that seed with another batch of seed, well, then I've destroyed all the seed basically. So I try to keep it somewhat separated. And what you're going to do on this towel then, and make sure you're going to put it in a place where it's not going to be disturbed. The cat's not going to want to go up and sleep on it. The dog's not going to want to eat your seeds, whatever it may be. And you're just going to set your seeds out. They don't have to be in any kind of fancy order. And then I let my seeds sit out for approximately a week. I want them to sit out a little bit so they dry out and get a little bit of the moisture out of them. But I don't want them to sit out so long where they dry up, because if they're too moist, they're not going to be viable. If they're not moist enough, they're not going to be viable. So I'm going to let these set out for about a week or so. And then I'm going to get a container. And this is a container that I actually have milkweed seed in right now. I love these little containers. And I'm going to take the seed and I'm going to store it in this airtight jar. Airtight's really important because that prevents the seeds from getting too much moisture or drying out while they're being stored. And I'm going to put this jar in my basement. I have a cabinet in my basement where it's dark, it's cool, it's the same temperature all year long. And these seeds will actually stay there until next March. Well, actually, probably next February, and then I'll get them ready for the seed library. And then they'll be available for people to start planting like the end of March or so, clear through May. So that's pretty much my process for collecting and cleaning and storing chive seeds. So I hope that helps you guys. If any of you are going to try and do that this year, it's really, really simple. It's hard to mess up. So I encourage everybody, if you've got some chives, try and do that. And if you're not going to use the seeds yourself, donate them to the seed library or to a community garden or to a friend, because there's always somebody out there that wants them. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Jenny. And if we have any questions or anything else you want to add.
Okay, I'm gonna just take the spotlight off so that we can all see each other. That was so interesting, Amy. And before I turn it over to everyone else for questions, I have a question.
Sure.
So the chives look really easy to get the seeds out. Are most plants like that, or are there some that are a little trickier?
Oh, there's definitely some that are trickier. And this is dry seed collecting. There's also wet seed collecting, which is collecting from something like tomatoes, cucumbers, and that's a little bit different.
Okay.
So this is a super easy one to start with. If you're going to start with an herb, this is a great one to start with. If you're going to start with a flower, you can't go easier than something like a marigold. So start there, because if you start complicated, then you're not going to want to save seeds in the future.
Right.
So.
Okay, very cool. Well, maybe later in the season when we have things like tomatoes, we could teach a little segment on wet seeds collecting.
Sure. And also this weekend, I'm getting ready to start collecting columbine seed, which is a native flower here in Missouri. And the reason I say that is I talked about labeling your paper towel with what the seed is and the date and all that. The reason I say that is because columbine is also tiny little black seed. Oh. So you think you're going to remember things when you put them on the paper towel, and you're not.
Yes,
you'll
Amy,
get them mixed up.
You do such a good job of labeling, and that's something that Monica and I both are taking from you. We realize, like, oh, it's so smart to label when you plant the seed, not just that, oh, this whole bed is, because that's what I've done in the past, is, oh, this whole bed is whatever it is, but to put the date that you plant that dill, that's so helpful in keeping you from accidentally pulling a weed, or to know that, oh, this seed is just something happened. It's not going to work. It's not a good seed. So yeah, so helpful. Good tips. Staying organized.
I learned from making that mistake many times.
Yes, that's how we learn in gardening, right?
Oh, yeah.
So any other questions from any of our participants today?
I have a question. Have you ever grown durian? It's this weird Asian, I shouldn't say weird, but it's different. This Asian plant fruit, durian.
I have not.
I have not either. I have never heard of it even.
Yeah. Well, the Weird Fruit Explorer, he even does a thing where you can eat those seeds. I didn't get to watch it yet, though.
Yeah.
What about the Mexican calabash? Did you guys ever get into that?
I have not done that one either.
I haven't either. And I wonder if some of those kind of plants just don't grow that well here in our zone. Now, you wouldn't know it from today because our heat index is over 100 today.
Wow.
But we have such cold winters. A lot of things are not hardy in this zone that might be more south of here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, the Mexican calabash was kind of neat because you can actually make bowls and cups out of them and decorate them. You know,
Wow,
the shells are really hard. Yeah, it's amazing.
that's neat.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Put them in a greenhouse, right?
Yeah. If you had a greenhouse, you could do it.
Yeah.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think that your program, both the gardening and the seed library, is excellent. I think they should roll that out over the entire United States. I think you should be the role model, the prototype. That's what I was looking for. So anyway, thank you for doing that. It's maybe you can spread the word. Okay, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you very much. I had a question about you mentioned about coming in for the seed library. I wasn't sure which library it was.
So the branch with the seed library is the Ruiz Branch. It's at 2017 West Penway here in Kansas City, and it is on the west side. So it's just west of the crossroads. We're kind of squeezed between the crossroads and the West Bottoms. Roughly at 20th and Penway.
2716 Penway. And then do you have a listing of the different seeds? I'm not real comfortable going into a building, but if I could look at a list and say, okay, it's worth going in for this organic cucumber seed or whatever.
We don't keep a list per se for the public because it's constantly changing. What you can do if you want to, I'm actually getting ready to go on vacation for the next week and a half, but after that, feel free to email me and I can let you know if we have a seed or not before coming in. And you can always contact me at amymorris@kclibrary.org.
Okay,
And I will be happy to check for you.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And what is the phone number for your library there?
The number to our branch here is 701-3487. And my direct number is 701-3565.
Okay, thank you. This
You're
was
welcome.
fantastic. I appreciate you showing us everything.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
And before I came to the library, I had no idea that we had a seed library here. And I think it is such a neat thing because when you start to add up the cost of seeds, it can add up pretty quickly. So it's nice to give you a chance to try some things without having to invest a whole lot. And I think it's really cool. You can bring them back. That's the return part. You don't have to, but it's really nice that people can. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a worthwhile program.
yeah, it's so neat. Okay, well, any other questions before we finish up today? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording.